Okay, so now we're going to do another Argentine recipe. This one is for alfajores, and alfajores is a classic cookie from Argentina. It's a little different from a lot of cookies that we've had in the United States in that it's made with cornstarch as well as flour, which makes them kind of crumbly. So they're very unique. We start with 1 3/4 cups of 1 3/4 sticks of butter, and I'll be honest, I rarely measure things when I cook, but when I bake, I always measure things because baking is more of an exact art or science. I'm going to turn this on, it'll make a little bit of noise. So along with this, we put the sugar. We're going to let that cream for a little while. And while we're doing that, I'll talk to you about the filling. So the filling is essentially a butterscotch filling. It's called dulce de leche. You can buy butterscotch cream probably, but it's more fun to make it. And you make it with this stuff here, condensed milk, right? Sweetened condensed milk. And it's got a rather unique technique that goes against everything your mother always told you to do. And I'll show you what. So what we do is we take the peel off of the labels of each can. And you probably know, I would open up one right now to show you, but imagine it's kind of a darker colored milk basically. It's basically white, soft white color. What's going to happen to it later is really fairly amazing. So we peel these off. I found over the years of doing this that it tends to do something funky to my pan if I'm not careful. So I'll tell you what I do next. So then I take a saucepan like this one here, and I've sprayed it with cooking spray, right? And I've got it about 2/3 of the way full with water that I'm boiling. And then this is the part that your mother just told you never to do. Don't put a can on the stove, unopened, okay? Because then you have, boom, an explosion, right? But if you put it into this water so that it's up there about to cover it, just short of covering it completely, or a little above that. We're going to get this on to a simmer, and then we're going to simmer it for like 3 hours. And you want to, as the water boils down, and it will, we want to add a little bit more water so that we can keep it from getting too low. But as long as it's got water pretty much over it, it's not going to explode. So the most amazing thing is that this is one I've done before, right? You can put this in the refrigerator and hold it for quite a while when it's done. But remember, it was white on the inside before, and this is what it looks like when it's finished. Look at that color. Yeah, beautiful butterscotch color and flavor. And it gets thicker as well. Yeah, it's thicker. But I think I should probably take a little taste of this because, just to be sure. Even though, you know, right now it's only 9 o'clock in the morning, but it's never too early for little sweets. Oh, yeah. Mamma mia. That's good. That's what we're going to be using to fill the cookies. So, one tip about using the mixer is every now and then you need to get in there and scrape it down a little bit because it's not going to do it for you. And now we can bring the temp to speed up a little bit. I'll tell you what else goes in this. It's actually a fairly basic cooking dough. So after the butter and the sugar, we put some vanilla extract, and then flour, which is typical, and then cornstarch, which is not so typical, and then baking powder and baking soda. I skipped one step. Before the dry ingredients, we're going to put in some egg yolks also, so 3 egg yolks. So a lot of ways, a very typical cookie batter, except for it's got the cornstarch instead of all being with flour. Never made this gluten-free. I imagine you could without too much difficulty. So one of the factors of the cornstarch is that it makes for a relatively crumbly cookie. When we go to ice these in a couple of minutes, we'll see how well that goes for you. We'll get this batter done first, though. So also another tip about is if you have a bowl with a handle like this, very carefully, because you want to get it to the bottom, just elevate it a little bit like that, because otherwise you're not going to get the butter in the bottom. One principle about creaming butter and using it is that you don't want to go too soon with anything else until it's absolutely soft. You can't make up that later on, right? And normally you don't want to run the mixture at such a high speed for very long once it's got the eggs in it. But when it has the butter in it, you can rock and roll however you like. In fact, I think maybe we'll bring this up to max warp speed here now. That's looking nice and fluffy now with butter. We'll scrape it off again. Then we're going to go in with the egg yolks. You don't want to overbeat the egg yolks. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, we're going to turn this down a little bit. So this is kind of a rolling boil. We actually look for more of a simmer. Let that go. 3 hours later, we'll have something very delicious coming out of that. So egg yolks. I've been using farm ranched eggs from the same farm for the last decade, or more than that, really. Happens to be the decade of my colleague Scott Feller, who once was a chemistry professor, now is the dean of the college, and is set to become the president, the 17th president of Wabash College soon. So shout out to Dean Feller, President Feller. He and his wife Wendy raise eggs. And so these are all fresh, and she has some that are called from pullet hens. I have no idea what pullet chickens are, but sometimes they come in this color, kind of unique. Honestly, the eggs about the same. So we're gonna do 3 egg yolks on here, right? So we don't want the whites. We're gonna get rid of the whites. So. And it's live TV, and I've just broken a yolk. So there we go. We'll try again. It really is easy to do with one hand, by your hands. You can also use the shell itself. So one goes in there. We'll put them in, we'll leave the pulp for later. Put them in one at a time and let it cook a little bit. Mix it up a little bit. Don't want to be too long, just a little while. One in there. So this would be the other way to do it with the shell, or you could buy one of those fancy egg separators if you want. But honestly, I don't usually break them with my hand, but apparently I did. Just for you, I did it to show you how it works. We'll let this beat up a little bit. Another one here. Alright, so 3 egg yolks in there. More than that. Scrape down the sides. Then we're going to add our dry ingredients in. So one pro tip is not to add the leavening agents in at the very top of the pile and have the mix going on and have it explode and then go all over the floor, and then you don't it's one thing to lose a little flour that way, but you don't want to lose the leavening agents that way. So we'll take a quick peek here of how much of those we want. So by leavening agents, I mean the baking powder and the baking soda. So 2 teaspoons of baking powder and a half teaspoon of baking soda. So we'll go with a tablespoon. So 2/3 of that. That's 2 teaspoons, maybe a little more. And then a half teaspoon of baking soda. Half teaspoon measure it. That in there. And we mix it very gently. We don't lose any of it. Then we'll go in with, I guess this is our flour first. So this is a cup and a half of flour. This is going to be a very thick dough. I think I'll stir it up a little bit before adding more. Get the cornstarch in. I just remembered that I forgot the vanilla, which probably should have gone a little earlier. Yeah, it'll be all right. Mix a little bit. This is going to be like an impossibly thick dough. So we're going to dive in there with the best ingredients. Best tool that's given to us, which is our hands. Make a little space here to work on that. So it's going to be very crumbly. And honestly, even a little irritating that way, but we can deal with it. Let's take pieces of it, squeeze it together. It's the cornstarch that does this, folks. That's who's to blame. But I've got a solution to the problem I just came up with this morning, so which I'll share in a minute. So you can make one big ball or three and put them together later, it doesn't matter. Basically, this is going to go in the refrigerator for a couple of hours or overnight. Then take it out, let it warm up just a wee bit, and then roll it out like until it's a 1/4 of an inch thick. All right, so that's good for that. Crumbles. So we'll cover this and chill this. So what we want to do, what I did this morning when I baked off the last batch is I added a little bit of cream and squeezed it together, and then that made it easier to roll out because it gets very crumbly to roll out. So just enough cream to hold it together. So that's not in the recipe, I just made that up. So now I'm going to shift over across the table. First I'll show you, this is what they look like when they come out. They just sort of very lightly browned at the most. They cook like 7 to 10 minutes in a 350 degree oven. So we'll put them down here. I'm going to shift over to the other side. My camera person can shift as well. Over there, maybe. Here. There's some room. So this is a slightly. We'll see how this goes. They tend to be kind of a. This isn't not too thick, which is good. So we want to. That's good. It's basically like a butterscotch Oreo. Oh yeah, good in the neighborhood. Do 2 or 3 of them. So I didn't say this, but I'm putting the filling on the inside, on the flat side, right? So the outsides are the curved sides that were baked. That's kind of a funky looking one, but we'll go with it. Okay, so there's 3 of them, and then still not done. Take each one you roll it. This is coconut. You roll it in coconut, so the coconut sticks to the wet dulce de leche, and that's what you have, right? So alfajores. I'll do these, and then I've got a question for my students about this recipe and how this relates to Latin American history, because that, after all, is what we're doing in this class. So my question for this dish, because I'm old and I don't remember. So this project, appears to be something that's very European, right? Not just Italian, but French, really, right? It's got a lot of French techniques to it. So in what ways might it not be? In what ways is this not a European, Western European, process? And what does that tell us about Argentine history? That's the question for you guys this morning. Thanks a lot, and we'll see you for the next course.